Within the last few minutes, it's been confirmed that an 11-year-old boy has died after being shot in a Liverpool car park.
A young boy on a BMX pulled up, stopped, took aim and fired 3 shots.
His eyes were wide open. There was blood pouring from his mouth. I knew he'd gone.
A murder that shocked the nation and stunned a city. Open warfare between armed teenage gangs that took the life of an innocent child.
When you're a kid, there are dangers out there, you know, getting shot shouldn't be one of them.
The young gunman thought he was above the law, but could his victim's mum and dad unite a community and help the police break a wall of silence?
And if their parents had any thought about our pain and what we've lost, they'd turn in their son.
We needed to catch the killer. We needed to catch the killer for the family and for the community.
It looks like any other suburb, leafy, green and friendly. But in August 2007, this pub car park was the scene for yet another fatal battle between Liverpool's feuding gangs. The victim, not a gangster, but an innocent 11-year-old boy, Rhys Jones. Tonight, we hear from his parents for the first time since the conviction of his murderer.
He was still my little boy. He was always giving us hugs and cuddles, wasn't he? And he still liked me to tuck him up in bed of a night.
Bit of a mummy's boy at heart.
Yeah, he wouldn't tell his friends that, but yeah.
George, you should have
A football mad.
Yeah, he was absolutely...
Obsessive.
Yeah, you know, every new kit, he'd want it, he'd just want to go out and buy it, and he'd wear it till it fell off him. I know a lot of his friends he'd be the first person he'd knock for to go out and do anything, because they knew if Rhys was out, all the others would come out and, you know, have a game of football, have a game of hide and seek or whatever in the close.
Early evening on August the 22nd, 2007, Rhys Jones was late for football practice.
Come on, Mum! Come on, buddy!
I put him in the car and I took them half the way up the road, because it's not very far.
Stop.
And he got out the car and he just kissed me on the cheek and said, "See you, Mum, I'll be home to watch England."
Okay.
That was the last thing he said.
We decided to have a penalty competition at the end, just as a bit of fun. When it was my turn, I took the last penalty for my team, and Rhys was on the other team, and he said, "I'll go in goal, I want to go in goal," so he went in goal for my penalty. When I did score, all the kids jumping on me, and we were laughing and joking, and Rhys started throwing mud, messing about, you know, and it was real good session.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't...
After practice, Rhys started the short journey home.
Okay, that's okay, guys.
I asked him where he was going, and he said, "I'm going home." I said, "Well, yeah, I'll jump in the car, I'll run you down." But, you know, he only lives down the road, and he was perfectly safe. He's done that walk many a time. There was nothing untoward, there was lots of people milling about.
Just as Rhys crossed a pub car park, a youth dressed only in black pulled up and opened fire at a group of teenagers. The first shot missed everyone. The second hit Rhys in the neck. Even though an innocent boy lays stricken on the ground, the gunman fired a third shot.
As soon as I got there, you know, poor Rhys was lying there, and what I can only describe as a big puddle of blood just around his head, you know. It was very evident to me that, and I've said it before, if I could have magicked a paramedic there wouldn't have been nothing anyone could do for him.
As Rhys's killer made his escape, his mother was called to the scene.
When you got there, nothing could have prepared me for what happened, what was there. The hundreds of people and the police, and it was just horrendous. I just jumped out the car. There was all people in a circle, and as I just got through the circle, Rhys was just on the floor. And he was just lying there in a pool of blood, his eyes wide open. I knew he'd gone. But I just got hold of him and I was just saying to him, just stay with me. You'll be okay. But it wasn't.
So you were with him and he was still alive, was he?
The paramedic said to me he was still alive, but I don't know, he was trying to resuscitate and he was doing his heart, but I knew looking at him, his eyes were wide open, there was blood pouring from his mouth, he was just lying there in a pool of blood. I knew he'd gone, although I was holding him and shaking him and telling him to wake up and it'll be all right. And it seemed forever for the ambulance to arrive.
Stephen arrived at the car park just as the ambulance was leaving for hospital.
I parked up and got out and I just saw the blood on the floor. And I heard them saying, you know, the ambulance has taken him to the hospital.
But you were in total panic and shock, I'd imagine.
Melanie had said, obviously, he'd been shot. At that time, I really didn't understand how serious it was. You know, until I got to the hospital and I walked into the trauma room. Melanie was in a little side room. And she just came out saying, they can't resuscitate him, they can't resuscitate him.
At 8:46 that evening, Rhys was pronounced dead.
Did you have a chance to say goodbye to him?
As they were working on him, they allowed us to be there, and they were saying to us, you know, talk to him, and we were talking to him, and they took his socks and his football boots off, and I was rubbing his feet, and they were saying, you know, keep talking to him, although they were actually working on him at the same time. And then it got to the final thing, but if this doesn't work, there's nothing else we can do, and his heart just wouldn't beat on its own with it, and he'd lost a tremendous amount of blood, and his little body just couldn't take any more. It was just, as much as I was praying.
An 11-year-old boy is shot dead in Liverpool. Playing on the streets of Croxteth, he's believed to have been killed by a teenager riding past on a bike. Tonight, another young victim of guns on Britain's streets.
Within hours, Rhys's murder made the headlines.
Now, as you can imagine, there was absolute shock here this evening. A number of people from the pub rushed over to try and help the boy. He was alive when they got there, but it has since been confirmed that he died shortly afterwards.
As the media rushed to the scene, Stephen and Melanie arrived home from hospital.
It was terrible. We went up to his room, didn't we? And it was just horrendous, and you just can't envisage that he's not going to be there anymore. And I just wanted to shut us all away, didn't I? I didn't want anybody to come in the house. I didn't want... When I say anybody, I don't mean family and friends. I mean towards, like, strangers, you know, like the police and the press. And I just wanted us just to be there and to deal with it.
From the start, the police knew this would be a difficult case to crack.
Yes, I felt pressure. Of course I did. I'm a human being. I'm a professional, and I've got to remain professional at all times. Because what was important right from the offset is that we needed to catch the killer. We needed to catch the killer for the family and for the community. It was obvious the upset that they were going through, and at one stage during that meeting, Mel took hold of my hand, looked into my eyes, and then I knew the enormity of the task. I mean, their world had been shattered.
He looked at me straight in the eyes and he told me he would find the person who'd murdered Rhys. I never doubted for 1 minute that the police wouldn't find him. I had every confidence in them.
Stephen and Melanie had confidence in the police, but they had little knowledge of the dangerous armed gangs that ruled some of the streets of Liverpool. No experience of the ruthlessly enforced wall of silence that surrounded many major crimes. And no idea that they would be forced to go public with their grief and challenge those who could help solve this crime to come forward and reveal the truth.
And if their parents had any thought about our pain and what we've lost, they'd turn in their son.
11-year-old Rhys Jones was the innocent victim of Liverpool's problem with gun crime. He was killed in a pub car park in broad daylight. It was a very public murder. Before long, the streets near Rhys's home were rife with rumours that the gunman was a notorious 16-year-old boy and member of a gang. But bringing the killer to court would be far from easy. Although well known to the police, he was adept at avoiding detection, and fear of retribution meant local people were reluctant to come forward.
We knew there was a name being bantered about. We told all our friends and family not to tell us. Until that person was actually charged with Rhys's murder, I didn't want to know who he was.
The police had CCTV footage of Rhys's murderer cycling around the area. But the image was not clear enough to identify the killer. Pressure was mounting, though, for quick results.
Have you got the killer on CCTV?
Yes, there is CCTV footage that shows the killer travelling to the scene on the bike and travelling in the general direction of this car park.
If you've got that footage, why hasn't there been any charges yet?
What we're looking to do with the footage is to do work around that and enhance...
The vague CCTV images weren't the only problem. The crime scene provided few clues.
The biggest challenge from the outset was probably a lack of forensic opportunities at the scene. We didn't recover any bullets. There were obviously no fingerprints of any note. The CCTV footage we had wasn't of the best quality, so that in itself sets a challenge.
No forensic evidence and no clear picture of the killer, but the police were getting plenty of tip-offs.
Well, this area here, it's a very tight-knit community, and right from the very beginning, we were given the same name. It came into us time after time after time.
And this is the boy whose name was on everybody's lips and who would remain the focus of the police investigation. Sean Mercer was a member of a local gang called the Crocky Crew, and he was familiar to the police. He had been stopped and searched 80 times. He also had an antisocial behaviour order.
Sean Mercer was a son of Croxteth, and he had a fanatical patriotism towards Croxteth. He was on the cusp of going from the youth wing of the Croxteth Crew into the older gang. Now, that's significant because once you get into the older gang, you can start making money. You can start grafting with them, which was the term they use for drug dealing and going out to do robberies and going out to tax rival drug dealers.
Merseyside police are holding a 16-year-old boy on suspicion of murder tonight in connection with the shooting of 11-year-old Rhys Jones.
Just 3 days after Rhys Jones was shot, Sean Mercer was arrested and questioned. Not that he was prepared to do any talking. He would only tell the police that he was with his friend and fellow gang member Dean Kelly on the night of the shooting.
What you find with Sean Mercer and gang members like him is that they've got no fear of the police. They've been in and out of police stations from a very young age, often from the age of 12, 13, and so they know the system, and they know that they can play the system to their advantage, and they know the rights. And that, coupled with the fact that they can get the mates to back them up with alibis, makes it very difficult for the police to investigate them.
No surprise then that Dean Kelly vouched for Mercer's whereabouts, but the police had a lead. They now focused on the background to the shooting. Croxteth Park, where Rhys lived, was a pleasant Liverpool suburb 5 miles from the city centre.
But it was close to Croxteth and Norris Green, where two gangs were involved in a